Greetings, pro traders. TL Turner here, the creator of pipsovermoney.com as well as forexfreedomfast.com. In this exciting video, we're going to be talking about the 7 principles of consistency. Now, this is according to Mark Douglas, who is the author of Trading in the Zone as well as The Disciplined Trader. Now, if this is your first time watching a video on this channel, first off, shout out to you. Thank you for checking it out. Make sure you drop a comment. Let me know what the number one principle that you identify with. Maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't. Let's get some engagement going on in the comments, because that's going to help other traders find similar videos that are on the same wavelength as you. Reach one, teach one, right? Now, we do believe on this channel that trading is 90% mental, 10% technical, which means your success in trading is 90% dependent upon the quality of your thoughts. So, right now, you're trading. We know that when we go to open a trade, it's a simple action. It doesn't require a lot of physical strength, right? Eventually, we'll get to the point where we can just speak our trade openings, and I'm sure that's already here. The technology is already here where we can just say open one lot on GBP USD. And a matter of fact, I might have to give us some programmers so we can make that happen. It's already done. However, the point that I'm making is that the actual activity of trading doesn't require a lot of tremendous amount of physical skill. And so by practicing and working on your mental fitness, as David Goggins refers to it, you're going to put yourself ahead of the game. Now, what is the number one thing that most traders are looking for? The hint is it's on your screen. Consistency, not principles. Consistency. Most traders are looking for their own version of consistency. Some traders are still searching out there. How do I become consistent? How do I get consistency in my trading? One, if you don't hear anything for the rest of this video, your consistency in your trading starts with your consistency in life. I'll say that again. In what areas are you consistent? Do you consistently work out? Do you consistently journal? Do you consistently pray or meditate or take your dog for a walk or call your mom on Thursdays? In your life, there is some consistent behavior. Now, the enlightened trader will ask themselves, is this consistent behavior, aka paradigm, which is a collection or a collection of your habits, your paradigm, collection of your beliefs. Is this consistent behavior pushing me towards the person that I desire to become? The person that I desire to become. If it's not, guess what? You can use that same momentum, same energy, and just switch it according to the law of polarity towards something positive. So what do I mean by that? Maybe you consistently go out with your friends and get hammered on Fridays. And you're like, the person that I desire to be next year, not necessarily that person that's waking up with a hangover on Saturday. So what do you do instead? You replace that habit of going out on Friday with maybe staying in, reading a book, journaling, watching videos like this, subscribing to the Pips Over Money YouTube channel, checking out our membership at pipsovermoney.com, our ultimate Forex training. So let's jump into the 7 principles of consistency. I've had the pleasure of reading Trading in the Zone. I have it on Audible as well. Fantastic book. If you're looking to replace that habit of drinking all night with your buddies on Friday, why not download Audible and check out some trading knowledge, some wisdom. All right, so let's dive into the first principle of consistency. Okay, so if you're not already familiar, I happen to have written a book called The 252 Affirmations for the Forex Trader. Now, in this book, there are 252 affirmations, one for each trading day in a year, that you can use to empower yourself. All right. Now, the reason I bring that up is because when you're reading these principles, what I need for you to do is to understand them in the present tense. Now, if you stick around to the end, I have a special gift for you regarding these principles. So make sure, you could skip to the end if you want. However, Don't do that. Watch the entire video. Now, the point that I'm making is that when you talk about these principles, or when you talk about affirmations, or when you talk about declarations, when you speak them in the present tense, you give more power versus saying, I will eventually. You're saying, I am, or I do, or I have, or I be. So when we're going through these principles, make sure you're speaking them in the present tense. Okay? Rule number one. So, principle number one, according to Mark Douglas of the 7 principles of consistency, I objectively identify my edges. Now, you may be asking yourself, hey T, what is a trading edge? I do not know. Well, your edge tells you when to trade and what to trade. And if we use the example of what separates trading as a form of gambling from traditional slot machine gambling, it's having an edge, right? It's knowing that when XYZ appears in the market, if then, right? There's this equation, if then. And so by objectively identifying your edges, you must know what your edge is. Do you trade M&W formations on the 4 hour? Do you only trade the USD ZAR or the GBP USD? What is your edge? How do you know when to trade? How do you know what to trade? That is something that if you're still kind of finding your way in the path of consistency in your trading, first thing you need to do is identify what your edge is. More importantly, write it down. Make it plain. All right, make it clear. So if you were going to teach your edge to someone, you can say, hey, this is my edge. I use the 1 hour chart for entry, basing my bias on the direction on the daily, whatever your edge is. It's going to be beautiful. Make sure you write it down. Now, let's take a look at principle number two, which, hey, be honest with you, a lot of these principles, I was going to say, I struggle with this one. A lot of these principles I struggle with, right? On the path of consistency. So, principle number two, I predefine the risk of every trade. Now, this is huge. A lot of traders come over to my trading boot camp, forextreamfast.com. They don't understand risk management. Moreover, they don't understand how to make sure before they enter the trade, they have a clear cut idea of what the predetermined risk is going to be. And so you start by asking yourself, what is your risk? When you go to trade this pair, what are you willing to risk? And I guarantee you, the moment when I started to shift from how much am I going to make to what am I going to risk, my trading started to change. It took on a probabilistic nature. Okay. And so in predefining your risk, you understand how are you going to manage your capital and how do you know what position size to trade and when. Different pairs have different pip values, different risk rewards. And so by predefining your risk on every trade, you, my friend, are on the path to consistency in your trading. So let's take a look at principle number two. I mean three. I said two. Two is on the screen. So let's go with it. Principle number three. I completely accept the risk, aka principle number two, or I am willing to let go of the trade. Now, again, struggled with a bunch of these. And that was one of the reasons that led me to building a trading program that eliminated the frustration and the confusion around a lot of these struggles that we have on our path to consistency. So, this idea of completely accepting the risk. Before you place a trade, you must be willing to accept the fact that that trade can go left. And if it does go left, you must be willing to let go of the trade. Now, what I interpret this principle to also include is understanding what is your mood. What do you feel before entering a trade? How do you feel before exiting a trade? I'll tell you a quick story about a trade. I was on the couch. It was like 6 months into trading, and there was this trade where I was clearly over leveraged. The amount of drawdown could have paid my rent for half that month, and I was in complete agony. And I watched the trade from like 8 p.m. that night up until like 6 o'clock in the morning before I had to go to work, and I was in pain. And I finally closed the trade out, before I went to work. And then when I got to work, guess what happened? I'm sure it's happened to you. Can you guess what happened? The trade turned completely around and went in the direction that I was anticipating it to go. And so that whole day, I was tripping people and kicking kids. No, I wasn't. I wasn't kicking kids. However, I felt really anxious and I felt agony. I felt pain about that trade. I was really like emotionally tied to that trade. And so, what that communicates to me years later is that I wasn't completely accepting of the risk. I didn't have an idea of principle number two. I didn't define what my risk would be. And so, principle number three, you must completely accept the risk or you should be willing to let go of the trade. Now, let's continue talking about consistency. Consistency, consistency, consistency. How many times do you say consistent on the daily basis? Maybe you should consistently begin to use the word consistency in your everyday conversation. Just a tidbit. Now, principle number four. This goes in line with number one. I act on my edges without reservation or hesitation. This means that you're trading from a mechanical standpoint or where you're not leaving room for interpretation to say, is it, maybe, I don't know. You're acting on your edge. When your edge presents itself in the market, you take action. How do you take action? Going back to the other principles, how do you feel before entering that trade? How do you feel before exiting that trade? How do you take action? Are you hesitant when you see your edge itself? If it's a engulfing candle on the 4-hour chart, are you like, but the last time I traded this, I got burnt. I don't want to trade it again. What are you thinking? So, in this moment, or are you taking action confidently? Like, hey, I know that this is the edge that I predetermined. I predetermined my risk. I accept that I could possibly lose the money or quote unquote the risk amount. I've willingly accepted that. So I'm going to act on this without any hesitation or overconfidence, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I know I'm going to win this trade absolutely 100%. The one of the things that you'll learn in trading in the zone is that the distribution of wins and losses is completely random. So we don't have a way of predicting which trades will win. So let's say for instance, someone's like, "Oh, I just won 30 trades." That's fantastic. There's no way that any trader, no matter how great of a trader they are, can predict that they will win their next trades. It's just random, okay? And so by acting on your edge without hesitation or reservation, what you're doing is gathering data. One of my favorite cartoons when I was a kid was Pinky and the Brain. Pinky and the Brain, okay? We're just attempting to take over the world here. We're in the lab, we're coming up with a solution to the age-old question of what's the market going to do today, all right? So take a look at principle number four, which reminds us to act on our edge without hesitation or reservation. Now, principle number five, back to what I was sharing with you in the beginning. Struggle with a lot of these. I used to struggle with taking profit. So, and I know that sounds random. I fixed that, trust me. Principle number five says, I pay myself as the market makes money available to me. Now, sometimes we want the whole kit and caboodle. Now, I don't know what a kit in a caboodle is. However, sometimes we want the whole piece of the pie. And so, sharing with you my moment of vulnerability, I used to struggle with taking profit. I would let the market run, and the greed factor would kick in. It's like, oh, this is going great, this is going great. And then by the end of it, either I would end up giving 50% of the profits back or I'd be back to break even. And so paying yourself is a wealth philosophy, a wealth principle. Paying yourself as the market makes money available to you means that you take profit. How do you know what a successful trade looks like? How do you pay yourself from your trading? Now, in our Forex Freedom Fast Trading Bootcamp, we have a week of the training dedicated to how you structure your trading business. How do you pay yourself? How often? How much? When do you know to risk this? When do you know to risk that? And so, by understanding the parameters around the trade, being willing to honor all of these principles, number five is one of the most important principles. as it relates to trading. We must pay ourselves to make it real. So again, I pay myself as the market makes money available to me. We got two more. So you've been doing a good job hanging in there. Let's take a look at principle number 6. Principle number 6, going back to the pinky and the brain, I continually monitor my susceptibility for making errors. So you're constantly tweaking the formula to minimize the errors in your trading. How do you do that? You must document. It's so surprising to me when traders come across my path and sign up for my trading program and they don't have a way of tracking their progress. They don't have a way of tracking their goals. If I say, hey, give me your last 10 trades, they're like, oh, how do I do that? They don't know how to run a report in MT4. These are all basic, basic, basic and fundamental things that any trader should be able to do. You should be able to tell me about the last 10 trades that you took. You should be able to tell me what percentage of those 10 trades were successful or were not successful, right? So documentation is a huge part of minimizing your trading errors. Errors. So making sure you track your progress, making sure you set trading goals, making sure you have trading goals. Some people don't really have trading goals. They have superficial, surface level. Oh, I want to make $1,000 a day. Okay, so what? What does that mean? What does that mean in a year? What does that mean in 5 years? What does that mean in 10 years? Why do you want to make $1,000 a day? Right? So, this idea of monitoring your susceptibility for making errors, that means that you're checking that greed factor at the door because you have trading goals, because you have a way of tracking your progress to make sure that you're not being overly greedy or under risking, right? So you must document in order to be on the path to consistency. Guess what? We've reached number 7. Principle number 7. I understand the absolute necessity, the bare necessity of these principles of consistent success, and therefore I never violate them. Or I'll say, I commit to following them. I like that. It's a more positive spin. However, Mark Douglas had his way with words, so he says, I never violate them. I say, I commit to following them. So, if you desire consistency, how disciplined are you? How well do you follow your trading plan? How well have you structured your strategy? And I know for the average person that's not really interested in being a successful trader, this sounds like way too much work. I guarantee you, for the person that's listening to this video, that's like, listen, I really desire success with my trading. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there. These are basic, and it's so basic that when you start implementing these, you'll realize how much easier your trading can be, how much simpler your trading can be, how much more successful your trading can be. So, like I said at the beginning, I have a special gift for you, just something to make it nice and easy. I have all 7 principles here laid out. Feel free to take a screenshot. We're just going to run through them all together and use these as sort of a mantra. Okay. Principle number 1, I objectively identify my edges. Maybe put your hand on your heart when you're saying these in the mirror. I don't know, it's just a thought. Principle number 2, I predefine the risk of every trade. Principle number 3, I completely accept the risk or I am willing to let go of the trade. Principle number 4, I act on my edges without reservation or hesitation. Principle number 5, I pay myself as the market makes money available to me. Principle number 6, I continually monitor my susceptibility for making errors. Principle number 7, my modified version is I understand the absolute necessity of these principles of consistent success, and therefore I am fully committed to these principles. Now, if you like the way the video flowed and you're looking for Forex training, head over to pipsovermoney.com. We would love to have you join our ultimate Forex training. With that being said, appreciate you for watching this video, and until the next time, take care.